Sunday morning at around 9 a.m. This basically corresponds to the normal time that I wake up in California. Now, I said that today is going to be the productivity day, and I'm going to make this happen. We're going to explore the city, we're going to be productive, it's going to be awesome. Let's get this day started. So for all of yesterday's data capture, we have about 10 gigabytes of files, and so the transfer would take absolutely forever. So instead what we do is we enable hotspot on the phone, and then we connect to the hotspot from the laptop, and then turn on mobile-only connections. And what that does is it gives the phone and the laptop a direct connection, so they can hopefully transfer much faster. So instead of a few hundred KB reliant on the network here, we're actually transferring at several megabytes per second. So while we wait for the file transfers to go, I'm gonna do some push-ups, and then we're gonna get showered and dressed. I just noticed that this billboard is curved around the edges. I feel like that's like the perfect billboard to show off the Galaxy S9. I am showered, dressed, and ready to take on the day. Having two laptops is almost as good as having two monitors. Alright, it's about time for the room to be serviced, so I'm going to leave all this equipment here and head downstairs and grab some Starbucks. It's looking super muggy out, so I don't know how far I'm going to get outside. So three crazy things are happening right now. Number one, there's Anime Liberty, a anime convention, so everyone's in cosplay, which is really fun to see. Second, that Starbucks had no seats, so I had to come back up, bring my laptop up, nowhere to sit. Third, that woman had 5 kids on an elevator all by herself. So I'm sitting here in New York trying to be productive on the Mac doing iOS development, but it feels like Mac is like the worst platform ever. I'm trying to write a relatively simple line of code that gets the front camera. Now I know every iOS device that they've manufactured forever has a front camera, but you can't just pass in a request for a device with the front camera without also specifying all of the different devices that you might support, even though they all have the same front camera, because there's different types of back cameras on each of them. And so then you create like a device search, a discovery session in the AV capture device, and then it forces you into checking the iOS versions, it forces you into checking all of these things that I just don't care about. And then I get it all done, but because I'm defining the capture device in the if check for the iOS session, it's not available anywhere else, so now I have to move the variable so then I can't make it constant. I am just so frustrated right now. I've rewritten this line of code 8 or 9 different times, following different tutorials. They're all out of date. Half of them are Objective-C, half of them are Swift 2. And it's so bad. Like they even have, here's how to access the back camera right in the documentation, but nothing on the front camera. Now I know this makes me a terrible developer, but the fact that it's so difficult every time I try and get into iOS development, I feel like I'm being punched in the face over and over. So just to see if I was making this up, I took a look at the Mozilla documentation on how you do this in JavaScript. You literally pass a simple object that says, do you want audio? Do you want video? And would you like to prefer which camera it uses? And don't even get me started on the Swift typing system and IDE experience. It's like, hey, this is the wrong type. Do you want us to fix it? You fix it. And then it just sits there for a second, and then the errors go away, and then they come back. And let's imagine for a mere moment that maybe you got some of your code tabbed in improperly. I looked around on the internet to see if they have an auto formatter, because that would just make a ton of sense, right? VS Code has that, every editor I've ever touched has that. But the recommendation for fixing unformatted code in Xcode here is cut the code, paste the code, and then it's going to come back all perfect. Isn't that just the most intuitable experience ever? Well, I've done about 60 push-ups here in the room. I did not make it to the gym. I spent the entire evening tearing my hair out about how terrible iOS development is. It doesn't get any better. The more you do of it, the more you hate it. I can't believe anybody spends their life doing this. And I can't believe some developers say they like it. Like, the simplest things when you search for them, they're in the wrong language, they're out of date, they don't even work. Like, these concepts on the web are so simple. Like, controlling height and width and positioning boxes on screens. These are all really trivial tasks on the web. And in iOS, just nothing shows up. Just no debugging information, no boxes, nothing. So I'm gonna just put my frustration down. I'll probably give it a little bit more time, and then I'm gonna go to bed because this is frustrating and terrible. Good night.